And we are live, guys. Welcome to another live stream from the Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Today, I'm fired up to tell you guys what I want to share on this channel. Okay, like we're gonna go through a video that I've seen before, but it was a long time ago, and I remember that I was like, what the heck? While I was watching it a long time ago, and I was reminded of this one by someone, and I wanted to react to it again because I haven't done a reaction to it. And it's basically the guy who plays Rafael Solano in a famous Netflix show called Jane the Virgin, which is actually a pretty cool show, but don't watch it because it's a waste of time anyway. But I'm gonna share my thoughts on what he's talking about because we completely and utterly disagree. But we're gonna see where we go with this one. So enjoy.
As an actor, I get scripts. And it's my job to stay on script, to say my lines, and bring to life a character that someone else wrote. Over the course of my career, I've had the great honor playing some of the greatest male role models ever represented on television. You might recognize me as male escort number one, photographer date rapist, shirtless date rapist from the award-winning Spring Break Shark Attack, shirtless medical student, a shirtless steroid-using con man, and in my most well-known role as Raphael, a brooding, reformed playboy who falls for, of all things, a virgin, and who's only occasionally shirtless. Now, these roles don't represent...
So, just from the start, from the outset, when people look at this guy, they'd be like, man, this guy's masculine. Oh my gosh. Like, man, if I could just become more like Justin Baldoni. We'll see.
The kind of man I am in my real life. But that's what I love about acting. I get to live inside characters very different than myself. But every time I got one of these roles, I was surprised. Because most of the men I play ooze machismo, charisma, and power. And when I look in the mirror, that's just not how I see myself. But it was how Hollywood saw me. And over time, I noticed a parallel between the roles I would play as a man, both on screen and off. I've been pretending to be a man that I'm not my entire life. I've been pretending to be strong when I felt weak, confident when I felt insecure, and tough when really I was hurting. I think for the most part, I've just been kind of putting on a show. But I'm tired of performing. And I can tell you right now that it is exhausting trying to be man enough for everyone all the time. Now, right? My brother heard that. Now, for as long as I can remember, I've been told the kind of man that I should grow up to be. As a boy, all I wanted was to be accepted and liked by the other boys. But that acceptance meant I had to acquire this almost disgusted view of the feminine. And since we were told that feminine is the opposite of masculine, I either had to reject embodying any of these qualities or face rejection myself.
Okay, so let's just briefly go through. He's basically what people say is masculine, right? He looks masculine. He has a dark voice. He's whatever, handsome, whatever, all that stuff. You know what profession he chose? The profession he chose is by nature feminine. Okay, so we gotta realize where these thoughts are coming from. Why did he choose to become an actor? Why did he choose entertainment business? Okay, because that by nature, by itself, tells me that this guy's feminine. Okay, if a guy chooses, his hormones are choosing the thing that he loves the most, which is a career in acting or a career in music or a career in the arts. Maybe you want to be an artist and draw some things. That just naturally tells me this guy's feminine. Like, I can just hear what his profession is. I know immediately this guy's feminine. Unless he has huge, massive thinking about the things that he's doing. Like kind of George Lucas type of stuff. Like, you know, or Steven Spielberg type stuff. Like a guy who basically thinks so big that it's impossible to achieve his purposes without hiring thousands upon tens of thousands of people to work for him and to make his dream come true. Do you understand what I mean? So just from the outset, I just want to put that out there, because hormones have a lot to say on who we choose to be as we grow up, or what we feel comfortable with as we grow up. So knowing that this guy is tired of performing, even though he's performing on a daily basis as an actor, he's tired of performing being what other people say is masculine. Okay? And yeah, it's just quite interesting. I liked what he said about people have been telling me my whole life that what's opposite of masculine is feminine. So we should have a disgusted view about the feminine. No, that's not how it is. We should have an amazing admiration for femininity, but in the opposite gender. If we have femininity in ourselves, it's good for us to be aware of it. It's good for us to know that that's where we all started. But this is something that we should walk away from slowly but surely, while still be accepting of who we've been in the past and who we are right now, and then move away from the feminine. We're gonna talk a little bit more about the definitions as we go on.
This is the script that we've been given, right? Girls are weak and boys are strong. This is what's being subconsciously communicated to hundreds of millions of young boys and girls all over the world, just like it was with me. Well, I came here today to say, as a man, that this is wrong, this is toxic, and it has to end.
What's toxic? Well, like, did you hear anything that was toxic there? That, okay, maybe we shouldn't call girls weak, because you know what happens when you call a girl something, or you tell her that she's weak, or that she sucks at something? That's a rejection. And you know what girls do when they're rejected? They want to prove you wrong. Okay? So basically, we shouldn't be going around telling girls that they're weak, because then they'll want to be strong. Okay? We should love them for who they are, and know that they have amazing traits that we as men could never embody. And if we do embody them, we're stripping the attention away from the girls. Okay, so let them enjoy the limelight, let them enjoy femininity, because the moment we become feminine, that means that they have to become masculine. That's how the world works. If men strive to become feminine or remain in their femininity, because that's basically how we all start, then women have to grow up faster and mature faster and become men themselves. There's always going to be a polarity with that thing, okay? So, actually, before we even continue, I just want to tell you guys the understanding of how it works when we start out. We start out when we're born, okay, as feminine, both boys and girls. From age 0 to 9, and it kind of stretches all the way up until 11, boys are pretty much girls, okay? They're feminine. And what does that mean? Well, basically, they're not supposed to have to control their thoughts, control their emotions, control their behaviors. Why? Because they're kids. They don't understand anything. And not only that, but their emotions are so intense that it's impossible for them to control them. So for parents to go around telling them that you should do this, and you should do this, and you should do this, from the time they're 2 years old, that's wrong. That's literally bad for kids, right? So we need to make sure that the kids, especially the boys, are allowed to be who they want to be when they're kids. To not put any discipline and focus on them too early. Because if you stress that, and you tell them that they need to grow up, they need to stop crying, they need to do this, that, then those children, especially the boys, it's also bad for women though. But making these kids grow up too soon makes boys feel as though they never had a childhood. And then they'll want to be feminine throughout their lives. They won't ever want to grow up. The reason why boys don't want to grow up these days is because they were expected to be masculine between the age of 0 to 11. if boys were allowed to do whatever they wanted from 0 to 11, trust me, and then they were told that in order for you to get the girls at age 12, right, you need to do this, this, and this, and this. You can do whatever you want, but that's what you need to do to get the girls. Then they'll be like, oh, okay, all right, let's get going. Because that's when they begin to get interested in girls and do whatever it takes in order to get the best girls possible. Do you understand what I mean here? So, but the problem with society, and I agree with Justin on this, is that we are telling kids too early to be disciplined and to grow up and to become a man. They're kids. Let them be kids. Anyway, just wanted to put that out there. Once they hit 12 years old, this is the time. It's time to grow up now. And we'll talk a little bit more as we go.
Now, I'm not here to give a history lesson.
I
likely all know how we got here, okay? But I'm just a guy that woke up after 30 years and realized that I was living in a state of conflict. Conflict with who I feel I am in my core, and conflict with who the world tells me as a man I should be.
So he is feminine, but the world is telling him you need to be masculine. You need to put your face on. You need to be strong and tough. And he's like, no, but I have emotions. They need to come out.
But I don't have a desire to fit into the current broken definition of masculinity. Because I don't just want to be a good man. I want to be a good human.
Okay, just that alone just should bring alarm bells to your mind. Okay? I don't want to be a good man. I want to be a good human. Like, okay, so you're basically saying that women should also not try to be good women. They should become good human. Like, what is that? You're basically saying that we should become hybrids. That's what you're saying. We should embody masculine traits. We should embody feminine traits. And so should the woman, right? She should embody her feminine traits, and then she should become more masculine. No, it's horrific. Okay? Don't listen to this bullcrap, because it doesn't work. Not only does it actually cause, and the worst of it all, it's bad for women that men are becoming more feminine, because it causes her to lose her health. Literally, she becomes like, she loses her relationships, she loses her health, her hormones become out of whack, and so does the man's.
And I believe the only way that can happen is if men learn to not only embrace the qualities that we were told are feminine in ourselves, but to be willing to stand up, to champion, and learn from the women who embody them. Now, men, I'm not saying that everything we've learned is toxic, okay? I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with you or me. And men, I'm not saying we have to stop being men. But we need balance, right?
No, we do not need balance, because balance is overrated. What you need is to be imbalanced towards masculinity, to embody who you were born to be. If we start out as feminine, you should run towards masculinity as you begin to grow up. If we tell boys that it's good for you to just embrace your emotions and to remain a child for the rest of your life, how is this world going to look in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years? They're basically all going to be socialists. None of them are going to become successful because, oh, I need to listen to my feelings. I need to listen to my emotions. Oh, it's raining today. I can't go out and work. Oh, because my emotions tell me that I need to stay inside. Masculinity is to do things despite of how you feel. Masculinity is to do things despite how you feel. You got to understand that if you do that long enough, you're chipping away at your femininity. And as you chip away at your femininity, being a man, being a masculine man, becomes habit. It becomes habitual thinking, habitual emotions, and habitual behavior. And now your testosterone is rising to the levels that you're supposed to be. And now suddenly you will find out, you'll notice that this is who you were meant to be. Okay? That's your natural self as you grow up. And now you actually have power. Because if you begin to embody feminine traits, you're going to lose power. You're not going to get power from listening to your emotions. Your emotions cause you to be inconsistent. Masculinity is consistency. To do things whether you feel like it or not, rain or shine, day in, day out, day in, day out. Boring, mundane. Boring, mundane. Don't listen to your emotions. Don't listen to your emotions. And if you do have to listen to your emotions, just vent them, okay? Just get it out with your words. You know, tell someone that you trust and respect, like your father or the coach that you've hired to help you to get through your feminine crap, and then vent to him and say, this is the emotional issues I'm having. This is what I'm struggling with. That trusted friend is going to tell you, hey, man, it's okay. We all feel like that sometimes. No problem. No worries, man. You're going to get past it. And then guess what? He's vented it out. He's ready to go. Now it's time to go. I had a client the other day who was basically struggling because he's like low self-worth. Oh, everything's difficult. Everything's horrible. I talked to him basically for 2 days, 2 sessions, 2 days in a row. Do you know what he said the day after? He said, man, F this self-pity. It's time to go, right? And I'm like, you damn right, man. And then I get fired up outside my brain again. You see, femininity was him being in self-pity and listening to his emotions, being unsure of the future because of how he feels, while masculinity is to logically know that the goal is there. The goal requires these logical steps in order to get there. And if I listen to my emotions, then maybe I don't feel like taking these logical steps in order to get to my goal. Did you see what's happening here? This guy, Justin, was feminine, but he used a lot of masculine traits in order to get where he is. When he begins to tell guys that they need to be feminine, literally, he's telling guys, you know, you should be feminine. You should embrace more femininity. Because if you do that, you'll never succeed. You'll never become a famous actor like me. But you know what? You'll be happier. This guy used discipline in order to get where he is. Both from a body standpoint, from a career standpoint, like for everything that he's done has led towards masculinity. And now where he's at the top, now he's telling people that don't move towards the top. The top sucks. Be a girl. Doesn't make any sense.
We need balance, and the only way things will change is if we take a real honest look at the scripts that have been passed down to us from generation to generation, and the roles that, as men, we choose to take on in our everyday lives.
Why do you think that past generations have taught their boys that they need to grow up, they need to be men, and they need to be able to protect and to provide for their women? Protecting and providing have nothing to do with feminine qualities. Do they? Other than caring. That's the only one. Masculinity is to not care, right? But there is some care in there when you're feminine. So that's good. If you don't care, you're not going to protect anyone. You're not going to provide for anyone. But the caring is like the foundational 5% of the yin and yang circle, if you can call it that. The 95 other percent is basically embodying what it takes in order for you to provide and to protect. Does that make sense? So there's no balance. There's no 50-50 going on there. There's 5% and there's 95% of masculinity. What most of you guys are struggling with right now is growing up, and I can promise you, you guys, most of you are probably around 50-50. Okay, some of you guys are 80% feminine and 20% masculine. If you look at how you think, how you feel, and your behavior. So should you be listening to messages like this telling you that you should embrace more feminine qualities? Absolutely freaking not. Okay? You should be listening to masculine videos. You should be listening, step up. Stop listening to your emotions. Begin to grow up. Begin to do the things that are necessary in order for you to set up your foundation for the rest of your life. That's what you should be listening to, in my opinion.
So speaking of scripts, the first script I ever got came from my dad. My dad is awesome. He's loving, he's kind, he's sensitive, he's nurturing.
Did you see that? Those were all feminine qualities.
He's
loving, kind, sensitive, nurturing. Why is he focused on those things?
He's kind, he's sensitive, he's nurturing, he's here. He's crying. But, sorry, Dad, as a kid, I resented him for it because I blamed him for making me soft, which wasn't welcomed in the small town in Oregon that we had moved to, because being soft meant that I was bullied.
would he have been bullied if he had been masculine? If his father had taught him how to be confident, how to be strong, do you understand what I mean? Number one, the father made a mistake by putting this kid in school. That was number one. If you don't put your kid in school before the age of 12, and you shouldn't ever put your kid in school, in my opinion, he won't be bullied, okay? Kids at 12 years old probably won't bully as much. If you get to the age of 12 and you're being taught properly from your dad how to protect yourself, and you've gone through martial arts from the age of, how about 9, 10, 11? You've been in martial arts for 3 years. You enter into, a teenage life with other boys. They're not going to bully you at all. So yeah, it was the father's fault for making him soft. And oh my gosh, let's keep going.
See, my dad wasn't traditionally masculine, so he didn't teach me how to use my hands. He didn't teach me how to hunt, how to fight.
Why? Why did he not do that?
Yeah, man stuff. Instead, he taught me what he knew, that being a man was about sacrifice.
I agree to that one. Sacrifice is a masculine feature. However, it's important to sacrifice for the things that you want. Okay, so but anyway.
And doing whatever you can to take care of and provide for your family.
I agree with that.
But there was another role I learned how to play from my dad, who I discovered learned it from his dad, a state senator, who later in life had to work nights as a janitor to support his family. And he never told a soul. That role was to suffer in secret. And now 3 generations later, I find myself playing that role too. So why couldn't my grandfather just reach out to another man and ask for help?
Okay, I agree with this principle. There is no reason why a guy should suffer in silence, okay? But that means he's a girl. Because that means he's caring about what other people think. If a masculine man went through issues and then he got depressed from it and dug a hole for himself, and then he was stuck as a janitor for the rest of his life while he was successful in the past. He basically won the lottery and then he lost it all, right? I don't know, winning the lottery by becoming a state senator. Usually politicians are extremely feminine. If you haven't noticed yet, you will over time as we become more and more communistic, as time passes right now. But which is feminine, by the way. But what he should have done, his grandfather, becoming a janitor, suffering in silence, that's feminine. If he was masculine, he would have told someone that could help him out of the pity situation that he was in. So there was nothing masculine about what his grandfather did, suffering in silence. Right? That was feminine. So he should have grown some balls, not cared about what anyone think, and then found someone who he looked up to and then gotten help to get out of the ditch that he was in. Do you understand what I mean? So that was feminine. There was nothing masculine about it. Right? Asking for help is when you're struggling, yes, okay, it can be somewhat feminine. But if that's what it takes in order for you to get back up and be masculine for the rest of your life, then let's do it, right? It's kind of like a guy, most of you guys are like, I want to be masculine, so I'm not going to ask Joseph to be my coach. I'm not going to, it's feminine to want to coach. Hey, if you're struggling in your femininity and as a failure, and that you can never get yourself to do things that you need to get done, and your emotions are getting the best of you on a continual basis, it's feminine. It's literally irrational of you to think that you can get out of that hole by yourself. So the masculine thing would actually be to seek out help in order for you to take you from A to B faster, right? Masculinity is about power. And if you're stuck in you being powerless, you need to contact someone who has power so you can get their help, and you'll do whatever it takes in order for you to qualify to get their help, and then now you race together with him, right? So that's masculine. Just wanted to say that.
Why does my dad to this day still think he's got to do it all on his own? I know men who would rather die than tell another man that they're hurting.
Okay, again, that's stupid. Get someone that you can talk to, that you can trust, but it doesn't mean you should tell everyone, I'm struggling, guys, I'm weak, I'm this, that, and the other. What kind of security does that give our women and children? If you are weak as a man and you never learn to be strong, to be tough, how are you going to be able to lead your family? How is your wife or your women going to feel security in your behavior? They won't, unless you embody masculine features. Not only masculine features, the way this guy, whatever, but masculine traits of stability, security. I got this. I got confidence. I can do this. And when you're struggling, you don't tell your women or your kids. You tell your friend who's trustworthy, who's not going to basically tell the whole world, this guy sucks, man. No, you tell a guy who maybe he struggles sometimes as well. And you guys, you get together and like, man, this is hard. It's difficult, but we're helping each other to figure solutions out, because I can't do this on my own. But that's actually being a man, if you understand what I mean, because suffering in silence is feminine.
But it's not because we're just all strong, silent types. It's not. A lot of us men are really good at making friends and talking, just not about anything real. If it's about work or sports or politics or women, we have no problem sharing our opinions. But if it's about our insecurities or our struggles, our fear of failure, then it's almost like we become paralyzed.
So I don't agree with this guy in terms of, should you tell other guys about your failures? And what would another guy do if you came up to him and you were like, dude, I'm struggling so much, man. I have a hard time with my blah, blah, blah. Like how guys want to be around other guys that are strong, right? So they're literally going to distance themselves from you if you are weak. That's just how guys operate. And that's good, because we want men to have power. Now, if we collectively are losing power because no one talks to anyone about their failures and problems, okay, we got an issue, and I can agree with Justin on that one. It's okay. I agree with some of the stuff he's saying, or else he wouldn't be saying it, because he's obviously researched and looked at everyone and observed a lot of people. But I'm just saying that I come from a different angle than him. But I'm saying that if guys can find someone, I personally believe that every guy should have a coach. It's kind of like my client, Luista, saying like, bro, I struggle with procrastination, man, and I have a coach. Imagine guys who don't have a coach and them, struggling with procrastination. Oh man, that must be horrible. So just an example. Yes, get a coach. Get someone to help you get to the next level. The mentor-apprentice model is real. And most of you guys have not gone through the apprentice and mentor model that millions and billions of men before you have, because that's what we used to do. The father was responsible for training his sons. How many guys are growing up without a proper father these days? Or a father who never learned how to become a man from his father, who never went through the apprentice, mentor model. So now more than ever, men need a father figure to help them get to the next level, which could be a coach.
At least I do. So some of the ways that I've been practicing breaking free of this behavior are by creating experiences that force me to be vulnerable. So if there's something I'm experiencing shame around in my life, I practice diving straight into it, no matter how scary it is, and sometimes even publicly. Because then in doing so, I take away its power. And my display of vulnerability can, in some cases, give other men permission to do the same.
Okay, so I get what he's saying here in terms of, if I have, I want to be vulnerable. He's putting it in such a difficult way to understand that men don't see it. Okay? If he had rather stated it in an angle of, you know what? When I look at something that is difficult, that's hard, and that will definitely make me struggle, then I face it head on and I face my failures because then my failures, I face my fears because then my fears will disappear. That's a completely different angle than what he's talking about here. He's like, I want to be vulnerable. I want to be that. No, what he's really saying is that it's okay to move towards failure. That's what you need to do. And that's going to make you vulnerable. Yes, it will. Failure does make you vulnerable. It's kind of like feminine guys who don't want to try anything new because then they're going to be rejected and they're going to fail. And so they never do anything. It's kind of like a guy who doesn't want to start a business because of fear of failure. Or he doesn't want to, whatever, in the future, talk to this girl because he might get rejected. No. So if you follow what Justin is saying here, it's like, no, you actually do talk to the girl because that's going to make you vulnerable, yes, but it's also going to help you to fail forward because you can't learn anything unless you fail forward. So I agree with him, but dude, give us a break and tell us the masculine way so that we understand what you're saying.
As an example, a little while ago, I was wrestling with an issue in my life that I knew I needed to talk to my guy friends about. But I was so paralyzed by fear that they would judge me and see me as weak, and I would lose my standing as a leader, that I knew I had to take them out of town on a 3-day guys trip just to open up. And guess what? It wasn't until the end of the 3rd day that I finally found the strength to talk to them about what I was going through. But when I did, something amazing happened.
So, hey, this is different. He's talking to 3 guys. It's an inner circle. This is not publicly displaying weakness to the whole world. There's a massive difference. Okay? We can show it's kind of like taking a step back in order for you to take a massive leap forward. And what happened during this trip obviously was amazing because I wasn't alone, because he was connecting with his inner circle and all of them were together, moving upwards together. So it's kind of like the Men of High Value community. We got like nine guys and myself who are in this chat, helping each other, moving upwards together. And there's a lot of femininity going on that chat. And that's okay, because this is the place where they vent. This is the place where they get stuff off their chest. And then they don't have to be feminine to the outside world anymore. Does that make sense? Now they can actually attack their dreams and move forward and make things happen. So, there you go.
Realized that I wasn't alone because my guys had also been struggling. And as soon as I found the strength and the courage to share my shame, it was gone. Now, I've learned over time that if I want to practice vulnerability, then I need...
Did you notice that it was gone? Just him talking to 3 guys? That was it. You don't have to embody feminine qualities for the rest of the world. You just need a few key people that you trust who are peer and above that you can communicate with to help you to get rid of your feminine issues. Get rid of your feminine issues. Not embrace them and embody them. Move away from feminine issues. It's venting. It's called getting it out so that you can progress further on your journey, on your masculine journey.
I need to build myself a system of accountability. So I've been really blessed as an actor. I've built a really wonderful fan base, really, really sweet and engaged. And so I decided to use my social platform as kind of this Trojan horse, wherein I could create a daily practice of authenticity and vulnerability. The response has been incredible.
By the way, okay, here comes a crucial thing for you guys to understand. The reason why this guy's able to speak from, to share his thoughts on vulnerability and softness and femininity and blah, blah, blah. And all of the girls that are listening to him are like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And then guys are like, interesting. Maybe I should be more feminine. Actually, I do have a lot of struggles and I do have... The only reason why he's able to speak on these subjects is because he has power. It's because he's famous. It's because he's got tons of money. It's because, do you understand what I mean? Like, he's automatically high value in everyone's eyes. He's confident when he's on stage with the microphone. Of course, people are going to be like, wow, that guy is a leader. I want to become like him. Yet he's embodying masculinity. All of those things were masculine. Being on stage, that's masculine. Having no fear doing that because he's done it a million times before. Being successful is masculine in the sense that he's struggled very, very hard until he got where he is. And do you understand what I mean? And the women that are looking up to him are like, everything he says must be true because he's amazing. And he's so yes, men should be more feminine. And then that's basically what they spew to their men friends and say that, when guys ask like, girls, what do you like? What do you want a guy to do when he dates you, when you're in a relationship? And the girls are like, oh, I want him to be, all those feminine things that girls say that they want a man to do. And yet they really just want the things that he has to offer, if that makes sense.
It's been affirming, it's been heartwarming. I get tons of love and press and positive messages daily. But it's all from a certain demographic. Women.
There you have it. Women love to hear that men should be more feminine because then the whole world would work, right? No, it's the opposite. The more feminine a guy becomes, the more destructive and the more destructed the world becomes. Why? Because you're messing up nature. What you're doing is you're putting someone who has an intense sex drive, men, that have 10 to 12 times more testosterone than women, and you're connecting that with feminine behavior, following one's emotions, lack of the ability to control one's thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. This is where you begin to develop rapists. This is when you begin to develop killers. This is where you begin to develop violence. This is where you begin to develop, suicidal bombers. Like, this is a huge problem, guys. Like, men becoming feminine is a massive issue. It also makes it difficult for them to create children, believe it or not. The more feminine a man is, the less able by nature he is to help a woman conceive a child in the future. The more masculine he is, the more wonderful the DNA is of that child that is born. Like, there's so many things I can explain to you about how horrific this world will become the more feminine men become. And this causes women then naturally, like I said before, for them to become masculine. Less able to have kids, less security, less trust, in men, because men screw them over. Why? Because men listen to their emotions. Instead of having logic and order in their life, like if they select a woman, they select her for life. Why would a man who's not listening to his emotions be involved with the woman with all of the risks that it entails and all of the waste of time and distraction that it gives to his long-term business and success? Men who are not emotional, men who are masculine, are not going to have those kinds of problems. Do you understand what I mean? The more feminine a man becomes, the more he's going to ghost a woman. The more feminine a man becomes, the more he's going to be addicted to drugs, addicted to cigarettes, addicted to porn, addicted to all of the crap that men are addicted to. Why? Because he follows his emotions. Don't be fooled, okay, guys? Becoming feminine is a huge, and it's not even becoming feminine, it's remaining in your femininity because you've always been in your femininity. But for men to now, to be told that you should move towards femininity, when moving to masculinity is my only purpose in my life. That's it. There's nothing else. My goal, and my goal alone, is to move towards masculinity. If I'm becoming 1% more masculine every single day, man, I'm happy. 2%, 3%. If I could do 5% every single day, man, do you understand how masculine I'm going to be eventually? Beautiful. Because when you've masculine, there's order, there's law, there's certain things I do and there's certain things I do not do, and I don't listen to my emotions because my emotions will always lead me astray from my purpose. If I let it. Now there's a difference between controlling, I'll still have emotions as a man, but I control them. There's a big difference, and I can funnel them in the areas of life that I want to funnel them. but I'm not being controlled by my emotions. There's a difference. And femininity is designed to be controlled by their emotions. Okay? It's taking a bit long time, but I'm just telling you guys that what he's saying is completely warped and does not work in real life. And if you do it, women are not going to want you.
This is real. Why are only women following me? Where are the men?
Because you teach what you teach, man. It doesn't resonate with masculine men. It only resonates with actors, with artists, and musicians. Those are the guys that are following you, bro.
About a year ago, I posted this photo. Now, afterwards, I was scrolling through some of the comments, and I noticed that one of my female fans had tagged her boyfriend in the picture. And her boyfriend responded by saying, "Please stop tagging me in gay shit."
Agreed.
Thanks. As if being gay makes you less of a man, right?
It does. Because being gay is feminine. Now, no offense to homosexuals. I got a brother who's homosexual. Hey, if you're listening to me, you're awesome. Right? But you got to understand that homosexual is the epitome of feminine. Now, the problem is not with gay guys, though. Gay guys, yes, there is a problem there because, one, they literally lower the value of women. Did you know that? Have you ever thought about that like that? How many gay guys are there in the world? But if we just say that there's 5% of men are gay, that means that 5% of women don't have a man as a result of men choosing to be gay. Meaning that 5% of women, because of that, literally have to fend for their lives, provide for themselves, and protect themselves in life. What happened? What just happened? Men chose to be gay, and we suddenly made women more masculine. Do women want to be masculine? It's not a good thing for them. The moment they realize what femininity and masculinity is and what masculinity does to their bodies and to their relationships, they won't want to be masculine anymore. Whose fault is it? It's not women's fault. It's never women's fault. It's partly the gay guy's fault, isn't it? Yeah. So it is a problem that guys choose to be gay, and it is a choice. Because there's different aspects. It's born this way, raised this way, and chose this way. But 80% of it is chose this way. Right? So you got to understand that aspect of things. But that's not... And there's also other issues that they bring along, but that's kind of it. The biggest problem are the ones in between that are feminine, but are trying to show masculine features to the world. Like they're pretending like they're masculine, but their femininity is basically controlling their behavior, their thoughts, and their emotions. So that causes them to do crap stuff, right? Like everything else that I've just mentioned. So it's the guys in the middle that's the problem. The gay guys are not giving us much problem because they're gay. Like they don't create tons of issues for women. They just simply neglect them, right? But the guys in the middle, they literally screw women over completely. So that's the problem, is the guys in the middle that believe that they're perfect the way they are right there and they should just stay the way they are. No, we need to progress towards masculinity always, continuously, every single day for the rest of your life. Masculinity is where it's at. That's it.
So I took a deep breath and I responded. I said very politely that I was just curious because I'm on an exploration of masculinity and I wanted to know why my love for my wife qualified as gay shit. And then I said, honestly, I just wanted to learn.
Well, see, that's good. I like that. It's very good that he wants to learn, because if he doesn't, then he'll be stuck with his philosophies, and his philosophies absolutely, horrifically suck.
Now, he immediately wrote me back. I thought he was going to go off on me, but instead he apologized.
Duh, you're famous. Like, do you know how many Instagram fans you have? Like, just for a dude to receive a message from a guy that has like 1 million plus or 2 million plus Instagram followers, of course you'd immediately reply back. Like, this dude could maybe give me some contacts in my career, and what maybe if he posts, let's reply him back. Right?
He told me how growing up, public displays of affection were looked down on. He told me that he was wrestling and struggling with his ego. and how much he loved his girlfriend and how thankful he was for her patience.
Oh my gosh. Okay, like you can see how feminine that was in general. But also from the fact that he says, stop posting me in gay shit, like that's feminine as well. Like if your girlfriend posts you, like why do you have to reject her like that? Can't you just, hey, heart it? That's what I do. Like if my wife posts stuff to me, like, I'm like, smiley face or whatever it is that you do to accept and receive your girlfriend. If you reject your girlfriend like that, you're obviously feminine, right? Because if you gotta understand how women function, female nature, bro. Right? Oh my gosh. But again, and then he begins to write this long love letter to this to Justin. Oh my gosh. Anyway.
And then a few weeks later, he messaged me again. This time he sent me a photo of him on one knee proposing. And all he said was, thank you. I've been this guy. I get it. See, publicly, he was just playing his role, rejecting the feminine, right? But secretly, he was waiting for permission to express himself, to be seen, to be heard, and all he needed was another man holding him accountable and creating a safe space for him to feel, and the transformation was instant. I loved this experience.
Except for the fact that you tricked him into taking on marriage, which is one of the worst decisions you can make right now in your life. Like literally, marriage? No. No, guys. If you don't understand what I'm saying, then go and check out my video, 100 Reasons Why Not to Get Married. I'm married. I got 3 kids. I love being married. But I'm telling you guys, most of you guys, 99% of you guys should not be getting married. If you're wondering why, literally send me a message, DM me at Instagram, and I'll at Men of High Value, and I'll tell you. I'm going to give you probably 20 reasons why you specifically should not be getting married. This guy tricked him into getting married. And now that guy's married or divorced, because this was a couple of years ago already. So, yeah, interesting.
Because it showed me that transformation is possible, even over direct messages. So I wanted to figure out how I could reach more men, but of course, none of them were following me. So I tried an experiment. I started posting more stereotypically masculine things. Like my challenging workouts, my meal plans, my journey to heal my body after an injury. And guess what happened? Men started to write me. And then, out of the blue, for the first time in my entire career, a male fitness magazine called me. And they said they wanted to honor me as one of their game changers. Is that really game changing? Or is it just conforming? And see, that's the problem. It's totally cool for men to follow me when I talk about guy stuff and I conform to gender norms. But if I talk about how much I love my wife or my daughter or my 10-day-old son, how I believe that marriage is challenging but beautiful, or how as a man I struggle with body dysmorphia, or if I promote gender equality, then only the women show up. Where are the men? So men.
Yeah, they're not going to show up, dude. Because what you're telling us is that, yeah, men and women are the same. And that we should be equal. And that in the home, it's important that the men do the dishes. And that the men also change the diapers. And that the men take the kids out for a walk while their girlfriends are going to a lunch with their other girlfriends. Oh my gosh. Like, it is so destructive what is going on here. If we had instead, like, focused on what is required of us to provide amazingly and to protect amazingly and to become more masculine on a continual basis, women would actually enjoy being with us. The only reason why his wife that he has less struggles in his marriage than most other guys is because he's successful. He's rich. He can hire any personal trainer. Did you notice he has a personal trainer? Yeah. Why does he have a personal? Because he's got money. How did he get money? Because he was masculine. He was building up his career with masculinity, not femininity. Well, it was partly feminine because he was an actor. But still, do you understand what I mean? Like, oh man, this is so warped that it's incredibly it's hidden. It's like a hidden message in there, but he doesn't know that he's doing it. But it's so bad.
Man, I understand. Growing up, we tend to challenge each other.
Competitiveness, it's
We
masculine.
got to be the toughest, the strongest, the bravest men that we can be.
Because that's how we kill bears and hunt and are able to, survive in war, by the way, or having someone come into your house in the middle of the night, whatever. Do you understand what I mean? Like, we got to get ready. We got to be competitive. We got to be the best. That's masculine. And if we say that it's okay to embrace femininity, then it's like more like, oh, we have to figure out how to enjoy the now. Yeah, it's important. And what are your emotions telling you? Yeah, you should do that instead. No, forget that crap. Let's move on. Let's take some action, right? Let's compete.
And for many of us, myself included, our identities are wrapped up in whether or not at the end of the day we feel like we're man enough. But I got a challenge for all the guys, because men love challenges. I challenge you to see if you can use the same qualities that you feel make you a man to go deeper into yourself. Your strength, your bravery, your toughness. Can we redefine what those mean and use them to explore our hearts? Are you brave enough to be vulnerable?
What does that even mean? Explore your heart. For what? What are you looking for, man? Look, what are you trying to find? Like, you could try to find like what's wrong with your childhood, but like you don't need to be like exploring for years and then surrender to your femininity for years for figuring out what happened in your childhood, right? There comes a point when, okay, I'm done with my childhood now. Yes, it was crappy. Yes, my parents sucked. Yes, they did all of this to me, but they didn't know better, because if they knew better, they'd actually help me and raise me properly, right? Or they just didn't have capacity, which is basically most of the time what happens. But at one point, you gotta let go, man. You gotta forgive yourself, forgive your parents, and forget the past. Forget yourself, your heart, and your vulnerability, and go to work. Literally. Like, let's take some action. Move on. Let's build something.
To reach out to another man when you need help. To dive headfirst into your shame. Are you strong enough to be sensitive? To cry whether you are hurting or you're happy?
Okay, the reason why I understand what he's talking about is because I used to be extremely feminine. Okay, like, you have no idea how feminine I was, and I still am. To this day, I'm working on myself every day, all the time, becoming more and more masculine. That's my goal in life, okay? So that's why this message is horrific to me. Because the more feminine I become, the less you're able to control your thoughts, less you're able to control your emotions, less you are able to control your behaviors. Which means, as a guy, I can't control my environment. Which means, as a guy, I can't choose to be happy. The more feminine I am. The more masculine I am, I can literally control my thoughts. Which means I can choose to be positive, no matter what. I can have a positive attitude towards everything and anything. Why should I be crying if I have a positive attitude about anything and everything? And it's actually real. Like, I'm happy. I'm freakishly happy on a daily basis. Like, today, I've been together with my family. Do you know what? Like, I worked as well today a lot. Don't you worry. I'm not with my family, all the time. But what I'm saying is that I was freakishly happy today. That was not because of my femininity. That's because of me being able to control my thoughts. And that's masculinity. Do you understand what I mean? So I can choose to not cry because I choose what I think about. So is it okay for a man to cry on seldom moments? Yes, it is. But it should happen like once every 3 years or something. And then it's extremely special if he does cry. Do you understand what I mean? But a guy that cries again and again and again, like, come on, grow up, grow some balls, man. Seriously. For those of you guys who have watched Friends, which is that sitcom that lasted for 10 years in the 90s, pretty much, man, that's a long time ago. But anyway, in that one, Rachel was dating Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis was playing a part in there, and that was for several, episodes. And the last episode that he was in, this is what happens. He's been strong, masculine, no emotion, consistency, always tough, and it's impossible to get through to him, right? So Rachel is like, oh, I'm trying to, there must be something beneath there, some emotion, some cry, something, I just want to hear about some vulnerability stuff. And you know what he said? Like, no, I'm fine, everything's good, whatever. And then he's like, okay, there is one thing, kids called me a chicken, when I was a kid, and they called me chicken boy and blah, blah, blah. And then he begins to, become really sad, and he's like, and he actually starts crying. No, that was it. He didn't cry there. He was just like, that was really sad. That was really difficult. And she's like, oh, thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you. Now we can go on a date. And then he's just like, now he had opened his vault, and now all of his emotions was gushing out. And then he started crying, and he crying and crying and crying. He couldn't stop crying. And then, eventually she broke up with him, right? That same day. Men do the things that they do because of female attraction. That's pretty much it, if you understand that. Women are attracted to power. The moment we embrace feminine qualities, we no longer have power. We are powerless, obviously, which makes it extremely easy for another guy to jump ahead of us. And if we all understand what hypergamous nature is, the hypergamous nature of women is that they will take the highest value man, the one with most power that is in her surroundings, who wants her back. So the moment you show any signs of vulnerability, or powerlessness, or crying, or all that crap, if there's a guy that's higher value, that's more masculine than you, she's gonna go for that guy every single time. Because women are environmental creatures. They're feminine. You don't want to be an environmental creature, you want to be masculine. So again, what he's saying is bullcrap.
Even if it makes you look weak. Are you confident enough to listen to the women in your life?
Obviously, you should listen to women. A man will want to get information from all sources because information gives inspiration. So, yeah, of course.
To hear their ideas and their solutions, to hold their anguish and actually believe them, even if what they're saying is against you.
Okay, I completely agree here because a masculine man will continuously seek to improve. Women have a lot of good information if you allow them to talk. However, they very often give you crap, right? Like in terms of, philosophies of life and stuff that actually is going to cause you to stumble and fall over. Okay, just like Rachel, right? In Friends, when she was trying to get that softness and that thing out of Bruce Willis, and then he listened to her, and then he capitulated. Do you understand what I mean? So in many ways, yes, you should listen to women, but you should always make sure that you remain in power and stay strong. And stay tough. Does that make sense?
And will you be man enough to stand up to other men when you hear locker room talk? When you hear stories of sexual harassment?
Okay, I completely agree with this one. Completely agree with this one. A masculine man won't talk negatively about women, ever. Because a masculine man understands that women, it's never their fault. And you can never, ever, 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 ever blame women. So, and whenever a guy complains about a woman or speaks down to a woman or about a woman, that's feminine. That's not masculine. So completely agree there.
You hear your boys talking about grabbing ass or getting her drunk. Will you actually stand up and do something so that one day we don't have to live in a world where a woman has to risk everything and come forward to say the words "me too"?
I agree with that one.
This is serious stuff. I've had to take a real honest look at the ways that I've unconsciously been hurting the women in my life. And it's ugly.
Do you know how many girls this guy probably has slept with in his life? Just saying. This is what happens very often. It's kind of incredible, but the guys that make it to the top very often have slept with a lot of women. And it's extremely sad, which is feminine, by the way. It's instant gratification. So, like I mentioned before, sleeping around, doing drugs, smoking cigarettes, any form of addiction or thing that men are struggling with because their emotions need it, that's simply a sign of their femininity and them struggling, okay? So women, if you know a guy who's like that, then sometimes it's difficult to find another guy, but if you follow this channel long enough, I'll give you tons of men of high value that you can get to choose from so that you can find your guy that doesn't do any of that crap and you won't have to worry.
My wife told me that I had been acting in a certain way that hurt her and not correcting it. Basically, sometimes when she would go to speak, at home or in public, I would just cut her off mid-sentence and finish her thought for her. It's awful. The worst part was that I was completely unaware when I was doing it. It was unconscious.
How is that the worst part, though? Like, if he's unconsciously doing it, then he just simply needed to be corrected, like, right? So, and then he can fix it. He can't fix it unless he knows what he's doing.
So here I am doing my part, trying to be a feminist, amplifying the voices of women around the world, and yet at home, I am using my louder voice to silence the woman I love the most. So I had to ask myself a tough question. Am I man enough to just shut the hell up and listen?
Again, I agree with this one as well. Because, like I said, information brings inspiration. And one of the things that have helped me to get to where I am today has been listening to my wife. Like, if I had not listened to my wife, I wouldn't have come up. Like, we wouldn't have together discovered 3 in Love. We wouldn't have together built this small itty-bitty movement that it is so far, and I wouldn't have had a fantastic life with her. These things that I'm teaching you guys on this channel would not be possible without my wife, okay? So I completely agree with this, and for the record, I'm not a feminist, and the feminist movement is completely screwed up the way it is now. However, 3 in Love is basically patriarchy and feminism joining together, because it's bringing the value of women up, and that's what we're all about. And the more we bring the value of women up, yes, the better the world becomes. However, I don't agree that women, should women can do whatever they want. I'm just saying that what's best for the kids, that's really what matters in the end. And what matters, and if what's best for the kids is not for women to be out of the home, obviously. So, but that's a story for another time.
I gotta be honest, I wish that didn't get an applause. Guys, this is real. And I'm just scratching the surface here, because the deeper we go, the uglier it gets, I guarantee you. I don't have time to get into porn and violence against women.
Completely agree with that. That's feminine! Oh my gosh! Like, I wish you would know what I know, Justin. Oh my gosh. Seriously. Do you see that? Do you understand what I'm saying here with porn? What is that? That has nothing to do with masculinity. What's masculine about a guy watching another guy do that to women that this guy wish he could do himself? What's masculine about that? What's masculine about being addicted to fapping? It's completely and utterly feminine, right? So this guy is whipsered upside down, like completely changing the game by saying that we should become more feminine. More feminine guys become, guess what? The more they'll turn to porn. Why? Because the women in their lives won't respect them, they'll dump their asses, and they don't want to have anything to do with them. What do? Well, they turn to, because of their low self-worth, which is what happens to feminine guys, they turn to porn. And then they turn to violence towards women, because they can't get what they want immediately. They don't have delayed gratification. So what do they have instead? Instant gratification. And so they become violent. The worst thing that could happen to this world is for men to become feminine. Justin, you got it completely warped, man. I hope that you see my video.
Or the split of domestic duties, or the gender pay gap. But I believe that as men, it's time we start to see past our privilege and recognize that we are not just part of the problem, fellas, we are the problem. The glass ceiling exists because we put it there. And if we want to be a part of the solution, then words are no longer enough.
I agree with him that we are the problem. we have this, the solution is in us. Because if we blame women, then we're giving away our power, right? I've explained this many times, but the act of blaming someone basically says that I don't need to change. This is your problem. You need to change, right? So that's basically, the more you give the blame, or you blame someone else, like your woman, for example, that means that you're making her automatically masculine. If she receives that blame and says, oh, okay, I need to change. I need to be more disciplined. I need to be more focused. I need to work more, right? No, you take the blame. Because the moment you take the blame, now you'll begin to be disciplined, to be focused, and to change. That's what you were designed to do, to be masculine. Do you understand? The less you blame, the more power you get in your life. That's masculine. Okay? And when he's talking about the gender pay gap and all that stuff, again, it's another day, another story.
There's a quote that I love that I grew up with from the Baha'i writings. It says that the world of humanity is possessed of two wings, the male and the female. So long as these two wings are not equivalent in strength, the bird will not fly.
Okay, I haven't seen this quote before, or I don't remember it, but I completely agree in terms of their roles. Not being equal out in the workplace, that's ridiculous, okay? But in terms of equality of value, right? I agree with that. And the value of their roles that they play. In many ways, I think that women's role is more important than men's. But at the same time, someone's got to provide and protect so that the woman can do the nurturing, right? The less the man protects and provides, the more the woman has to protect and provide herself, which causes her to neglect the nurturing of her children, right? So we want women to have a full focus towards nurturing her children, and nurturing herself, and nurturing her other women in 3 in Love, as we teach on this channel. And of course, naturally then nurturing the man, because as a reward for his amazing behavior in supplying them with tons of resources, making sure that he takes the blame in every situation so that they can have harmony in the home, and he has power. That's what causes a woman to worship her man. So, equivalent in strength in their different roles, okay? Then the bird can fly.
So women, on behalf of men all over the world who feel similar to me, please forgive us for all the ways that we have not relied on your strength. And now I would like to ask you to formally help us, because we cannot do this alone. We are men. We're going to mess up. We're going to say the wrong thing. We're going to be tone deaf. We're more than likely probably going to offend you. But don't lose hope. We're only here because of you. And like you, as men, we need to stand up and become your allies as you fight against pretty much everything. We need your help in celebrating our vulnerability and being patient with us as we make this very, very long journey from our heads to our hearts. And finally, to parents. Instead of...
What? Okay, so just briefly there. Yes, of course, women, be patient with us. Oh my gosh, what option do they have? They really don't, okay? They're going to take the best man that wants them back, unless they've been screwed over so many times in the past that they're done with men, right? But if they want a man, then they'll basically just settle with that guy in monogamy, and that's just it. And they'll do their best, and they'll try to be patient, because what are their options? They don't have any other options, because if they had a better option, they'd choose it. That's their hypergamous nature. Okay, so, yes.
And finally, to parents. Instead of teaching our children to be brave boys or pretty girls.
Well, pretty girls is good, but at the same time, not really. Just guide your kids. Don't tell them what to do or, how they should be acting. Rather observe them and then guide them when they're doing things that is completely out of hand, right? And that means you never force them.
Can we maybe just teach them how to be good humans? So back to my dad.
Remember to color code. It's crucial. Boys be boys, girls be girls. Yet, you allow them to do whatever it is that they want in those early years.
Growing up, yeah, like every boy, I had my fair share of issues. But now I realize that it was even thanks to his sensitivity and emotional intelligence that I'm able to stand here right now talking to you in the first place. The resentment I had for my dad, I now realize had nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with me and my longing to be accepted and to play a role that was never meant for me. So while my dad may have not taught me how to use my hands, he did teach me how to use my heart. And to me, that makes him more of a man than anything. Thank you.
So, you guys understand what I'm talking about here? I really hope that you do. I could go through. He has another video where he's basically playing with his daughter in the park. That's exciting. So, anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one.